think we should all really be proud of the working relationship that they have. There really are no captains and chiefs involved in this effort. Everybody works together, even though there are a lot of captains and chiefs today. Everybody works together to make sure that all the things that are done all year long are in place to protect us. And that is the most important thing, is this collaboration, the willingness to do whatever it takes to help whoever needs it in that moment in time, coupled with the investments that we're making in technology and preparedness. And obviously, the biggest new addition to our asset is this Firehawk helicopter, which has already tremendously demonstrated its effectiveness in the couple of fires that we've had since it's been in service. And others, I'm sure, will talk about the details of that. But the County Board of Supervisors is committed to investing in the technology and the people to protect the residents of Santa Barbara County. And the collaboration that we have together with all the local agencies and the federal and the state agencies is something that Santa Barbara County residents should be proud to know that 24/7, 365 days a year, the men and women of the fire services are here to take care of our community and protect us. So thank you.
Next up, 3rd District Supervisor and Board Chair, Joan Hartman.
It's really a pleasure to be here today. The Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors is really proud of our county fire department, and as you can see, they believe in investing in the people and the equipment. This Firehawk shows that. We're investing also in a new dispatch that's being designed and will soon be under construction, and we really support when there is pre-positioning under red flag and really dire conditions. During my lifetime, Santa Barbara County averaged about 1 fire per decade. But just in the last decade, we've had one major fire each year. So the risk is really going up. And the fire department, even though they're all working together and with law enforcement, can't do it alone. There has to be shared public safety. The people, the communities, the neighborhoods doing their bit. So we need to have defensible space. I serve on the Fire Safe Council and we're dedicated to education and action around this and getting communities and neighborhoods involved. So there's defensible space, but there's a new wrinkle in that. From 0 right up to 5 feet, there should be nothing combustible, including plants or wood chips. We need to create that defensible space to protect our house and also to protect the firefighters so they have a place that's safe to work. The Fire Safe Council is also working with neighborhoods to develop communities. Yesterday there were people out looking, mapping it out for ghost and sheep. Some of the brush that's accumulated over many years. The Fire Safe Council is eager to create more fire-wise communities. And if you want to learn how to do that in your neighborhood, go to the Fire Safe Council website and you can learn more about it. We also have to take a lot of care in the activities that we're engaged in during fire season. Using equipment in dry fields, towing a trailer with a chain that's dragging. These are all things that ignite fires and fire season starts. We're in a mess, and it could be a real. By planning and working ahead, we can significantly reduce the risks.
Esmeralda Estrada, 1st District Representative for Office Supervisor Williams. APC office. And maybe I'll just come on. I'll start this real quick because people kind of wonder where APC falls into this thing. We have a great working with APC. We do prescribed fire where we're trying to build that defensible space and work with different areas around some critical infrastructure. And then also, whenever we have large fires, they're the ones that message out, the air quality and get that out to the constituents. So thank you for everything you guys do.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's great that the Air District is part of this. My role today is really to highlight tips and provide encouragement for folks to get prepared for the smoke impacts that result from wildfires. Even if we're fortunate not to have a wildfire in our own backyard, smoke can travel hundreds of miles away and impact our local air quality conditions. And as you know, smoke and ash contain very fine particles that when we breathe it in get lodged deep into our lungs and actually can even get into our blood system, impacting our heart and our lungs. So during smoky conditions, the best health protection is to stay inside as much as possible. The Air District is really trying to increase awareness of clean air rooms that you can create in your own home. Find a room that you and your family tend to spend a lot of your time in. It needs to be a well-sealed room with your windows and your doors closed. We also encourage you to use an air purifier to continually clean the air when you're in that room. You can make your own. They're not that difficult. With a box fan and a filter and some tape, you can actually make your own air purifier. So I encourage everyone to start thinking about where their clean room might be located and start gathering all the materials you need to pull that together, because when we're in the thick of wildfires, it can be very difficult to find the necessary supplies in order to create such a clean environment. I'd also like to recommend during wildfires that all individuals keep tabs on their local air quality conditions. Just as wildfires can be very dynamic, local air quality conditions can also change quickly. On the Air District's website, we have both hourly rating available as well as daily forecasts. I also use the US EPA Fire and Smoke Map. It has all of the monitoring stations that the district manages here throughout the county, as well as some low-cost sensors, so it provides a very nice picture of conditions that are happening at that exact time. The Air Pollution Control District also works very closely with the Santa Barbara County Public Health during wildfire incidents. We issue air quality alerts together. I encourage everyone to sign up for air quality alerts. You can receive emails or texts, and these provide guidance on steps that you can take to protect your family and your health during wildfires. Let's see, the last thing I'd like to highlight today is a pilot project that's recently been launched in California. It's providing funding for regional clean air centers. The grant applications are being accepted through June 30th, and I really hope we have a number of entities here in Santa Barbara County that are going to apply for the grants. It's a pilot project, so it's going to be, based on competition. And I just really hope that we have some facilities that we're able to use. So these would be facilities that would be open to the general public during wildfire and when our region is inundated with smoke. Everything I've mentioned here today is available on our website. It's ourair.org, OURAIR.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Next, we have Chief Fish from the County Fire Chiefs Association.
Thank you, Chief. Look around and you see a variety of patches and a variety of colors on their uniforms, a variety of paints on the fire apparatus. This is by no accident. As Supervisor Hart said earlier, we are a collaborative effort in public safety. Not only does the fire department respond to large incidents and big fires, but our friends from law enforcement, the sheriffs and the local police also assist in evacuation. So without all of this team working together, it would be impossible to control some of these larger incidents. Some of the incidents that I can think of in the past were the Jesucita, the T. There's so many different fires in our local area, and then the larger ones, like the Thomas fire, and of course the debris flow of 1/9/2018. These are examples of large incidents that occurred where collaborative efforts were taken from the top. They were commanded by a very significant command structure. We have in place within the county a command team that knows how to control these types of incidents and put the right resources in the right place. So again, we respond to all large incidents together. There's auto aid, automatic aid. If you don't know what automatic aid is, it's automatic aid is when one of us in one of our areas of the county has a large incident, we automatically respond from other areas of the county. And then there's also mutual aid, the mass mutual aid system that we have within the state of California. It's an agreement, but basically we don't wait to get that going when these large incidents start. That's already in place so that when these big ones start, we can make requests for mutual aid outside of our county, and resources show up from CAL FIRE, from other municipalities and other fire districts within the state. So that works out very well. Not only do we collaborate within the county, we actually collaborate within the state and in the western United States for that matter. I know that there was a little talk about home hardening from Supervisor Hartman, and I don't want to go into great detail, but I do want to mention a few things. Recently, there were some fires in Laguna. If you remember, about a week and a half ago, there was a significant fire that burned approximately 20 homes in Laguna. And I get quite a few questions about that as a fire chief. And we as the fire service get questions. How could a house burn from the inside out? It's got a roof that's non-combustible. It's got stucco on the side. How can this burn from the inside out? And the answer is really easy. It's the vents to the attic and the eaves are combustible. So the vents to the attic probably did not have 1/8 inch steel mesh at a minimum. You do not want to have greater than a 1/8 inch steel mesh on your eave vents. And then if a combustible eave is exposed to fire, it will burn. It will catch the attic on fire and literally burn the fire from the inside out. So those are two things that I think we can use in hardening our home. And then the other one would be boxing your eaves. If you can box your eaves and put some type of stucco on the outside, it'll give it a lot more resistance to that fire front as it follows through. There's more information on all these subjects. Ready, Set, Go. Every single one of our websites within the county, our fire department websites, has a Ready, Set, Go pamphlet or more information, or you can go to just Google Ready, Set, Go, and there's a phenomenal amount of information that will help you harden your structure and prepare you for the upcoming fire season. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, Chief Jim Harris from the Los Padres Force.
Hey, good afternoon. We're enjoying a nice drizzly afternoon here in Santa Barbara County, and it really is wonderful just to have a little bit of moisture, a little bit of reprieve, and a condition that buys us another day or two or some additional time to complete our fire preparedness for the season. So that's really important. That's why we're gathered here today. That's why we're spending time talking about what we're doing as agencies and governments and publics as a community to prepare for what we're seeing is going to be another long and severe fire season. As our planet warms up and conditions change, we're seeing longer, more severe fires. We've heard reference to the Hasacita, the Thomas, for those of you that have been around for a while, the Zaka fire. A lot of these fires used to be contenders or the largest fires in California state history, and they were 250, 275,000 acre fires, big landscape level fires. Well, over the last couple of years, we now talk about million-acre fires in the state, up in the northern part of the state, which is unheard of. And it's just an indicator that all the cooperation and all the partnerships you see here today are really what's necessary to make sure we have the resources that are needed to combat these wildfires that are threatening our communities and our critical infrastructure. So we're here to talk about what we're doing as agencies. We've heard a lot about what you can do to help as a community hardening your home. The Forest Service locally has put in place a year-round fire restriction on the Camino Cielo along the Santa Ynez Range. That was good work and suggestion from our County Fire Chiefs Association that helped make that happen. So all campfires, including charcoal and barbecue fires, are prohibited year-round along the Camino Cielo to prevent any possibility of a fire escaping coming down into Santa Barbara. We've also prohibited target shooting throughout the National Forest to prohibit or exclude any unwanted fire starts. So as fire season and the summer approaches, we're also implementing fire restrictions to include wood and charcoal fires being excluded from all areas except for designated campgrounds. And if things become severe enough towards the end of the summer or the height of the season, we'll exclude and preclude campfires of all types in all locations. So we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure we minimize the amount of fire starts, because we do need every firefighter, every fire truck, every crew, every helicopter working on the big fires that do start, and everyone that we prevent helps us win the battle. So thank you.
All right, next, Sheriff Brown.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sheriff Bill Brown, Santa Barbara County Sheriff, and I'm here today to talk briefly to you about the two areas that the Sheriff's Office is involved in with major fires that occur, the first being evacuations and the second being in the air support operations. So first of all, in evacuations, those of us who live in Santa Barbara, the price that we pay for living in paradise here is that we have a real threat of front country wildfire. And just as if you lived in Louisiana and you had to be well versed in and prepared for dealing with hurricanes, just if you were in the Midwest and you had to deal with tornadoes, just the same way. This is a natural disaster that is inherent to our front country in Santa Barbara County. And it's important that those who live here recognize that the important thing is to be prepared. And you've heard already about how you can prepare your homes and make them more defensible in the case of a fire. But there is another thing that really needs to occur, and you need to have a plan. You need to have an action plan for your family and for your household on what will you do if there is a fire that threatens your area and if an evacuation order is given. There are two different types of notices that will go out if a fire is threatening an area. The first would be an evacuation warning, which would let people in that area know that there is a fire that is close by that could become more dangerous and result in an evacuation. And then there is an actual evacuation. If you are evacuated, if your area is evacuated, we will notify you in several different ways. One is through an electronic system called Everbridge that will be geofenced and will contact through phones and through phones that have been pre-registered with the county's emergency system, cell phones and residential phones, to notify you what's going on. But we will do a door-to-door notification as well, using sheriff's deputies and members of our tremendous search and rescue team who are called out in the event of a major fire. If you are living in that area, think about a plan of what you're going to do. Where are you and your family going to go? What is your plan in terms of the evacuation? It could be very brief. It could be a number of days. Have a plan for where you're going to go and where you're going to meet in the event that communications are disrupted in any way. The other area that we are privileged to work with our brothers and sisters in the fire service is through our joint air operations. The Santa Barbara County Sheriff Fire Air Support Unit is a blended unit of aviators who work on all types of public safety aviation missions that they fly, both law enforcement and medical rescue, and obviously with this magnificent helicopter behind us, through aerial firefighting as well. And in the last several weeks, you have seen the value of this helicopter being able to get there quicker and put more water on a fire. And it has been a real game changer in that respect. And we're very proud to be part of that unit and to have a cost-effective and important asset that blends our two public safety services. So the good news is, although we live in a danger zone with respect to fire, you have a world-class team right here of people, and it's actually a team of teams. All these different uniforms that were mentioned before represented different agencies, but when the alarm goes off, when the fire starts, all of us are working together, hand in hand, to protect and serve you in the best way that we can, and we're very proud at the Sheriff's Office to be a part of this. Thank you.
Okay, our final speaker today, Chief Hartwig, Santa Barbara County Fire Department.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you for coming to this to the press conference here, kicking off fire season, high fire season here in the county. If I could, real quickly, I'd like to recognize the men and women that are out on the lines, and we'll spend a lot of time out on the lines this summer. Some are out, as was mentioned already, in New Mexico and other parts of the state. They're the air crews and the engine company crews that will likely spend July 4th, birthdays and anniversaries away from their families, other special days as they put the boots on the ground. And again, as was mentioned here, our team will support. The team that you have here in front of you doesn't come easy. It takes a lot of commitment. So just a thank you to my colleagues here who put the time and effort and priority into continuing and to maintain the relationships that we have. I also just like to recognize, if I could, the supervisors, the board of supervisors that acts as the county fire department fire board. Specifically, again today, the offices that we have here, Doss Williams' office, and then Chair Hartman, thank you, and Supervisor Hart, thank you for that. I really wanted to focus in on something that we haven't spent a lot of time on, and that is defensible space. Defensible space inspections will start throughout the county from Carpinteria through Santa Maria on June 1st. Defensible space and the requirement for you to have defensible space on your property is a state and local law. You will be fined if you don't have the defensible space, and we will do it for you through a contractor or our own folks, and we will send you a bill. And it was mentioned here today, if you have any question at all about what defensible space is and what is required, as was referred to earlier, there's a Ready, Set, Go pamphlet available at your local fire administration building, or you can go on to the OEM website, readysbc.org, and you can access, as well as sbcfire.com, and access this information. Why is personal defensible space so important? Because, as was mentioned here, we know that in a wildfire, fires aren't contained to one house or one location. You could have terrific defensible space, and if your neighbor, or if your neighbor's neighbor, or even the block down doesn't have defensible space, as we saw in the Tubbs fire in Santa Rosa, those fire brands and embers are carried for miles. So you having defensible space, but then you coming together with your neighbors and community and having a defensible space within your community is so very important, as was mentioned earlier. There's a lot of emphasis on fire-safe communities, specifically fire-wise. I know the Fire Safe Council is putting a lot of time and effort in providing the resources to our communities to become fire-wise communities. We have a couple in the county already through a lot of work, again, by the community, not just the individual homeowner or property owner, but the community coming together, checking that box, and then doing what it would take to get that FireWise certification and designation. And FireWise is another a program that we are pushing here, again, from all the way, starting in Carpinteria, all the way up through Santa Maria. A couple other real quick shout outs would be to our state, the governor and our state legislature. They have put unprecedented amounts of funding towards wildfire resiliency in the state of California. We have taken advantage of it here in this county through, as what you heard earlier, prescribed herbivory. We've also employed a fuels crew in the county fire department, and I know that I have colleagues here in the county that are doing the same, looking at contractors and fuels crews to spend all their time creating a defensible space within the county along roadways. And then in major projects like the Burton Mesa project that is going to be wrapping up this year, in the Lompoc area. And then one starting this year, or actually a couple this year, would be right here, a Defensible Space project here in San Antonio Creek. And then a larger one, much larger one, multi-year in Tepisque Canyon. I just wanted to finish by saying this. We came together as fire chiefs now about 3 years ago and said, boy, it's really great that we work together, but can we work together even better? And what we came to the realization of is if we were all dispatched out of the same center, so even when we needed help, we didn't need to pick up the phone and call each other and waste those critical seconds and minutes in some cases, could we come together and dispatch out of the same center? We banded together and said, yes, I think we can do that starting in the first quarter of 2024. In fact, work going on right now. It'll be located right here. County OEM will be our neighbor and partner in that building. We'll come together, so one call will get the closest resource, most available, and most appropriate resources to meet your needs from fire, rescue, and EMS. Again, a big thank you for you all coming, and another big thanks to the colleagues that you have here before you. That's all I have. Thank you, Chief Sturman.
Thank you, Chief. And just in closing, that concludes our speakers, but I just want to recognize some cooperators here today that they may not have had speaking roles, but they're very important to the jobs we do every day here. So CAL FIRE San Luis Unit, Santa Barbara County is a contract county fire department, and they're our administrative unit. We work very closely with them. They also give us access to state resources, and as Chief Fish mentioned earlier, the mutual aid system. Also, Cal OES is here today, so thank you for being with us. Again, another great asset for opening the door for resources throughout the state and the nation, for that fact. And Kelly Hubbard from OEM, always have a great working relationship with her, and when things happen here, very, very close, and they're great to work with, great partners. That concludes the press conference. We'll allow any questions, or if you guys want to ask anyone separately off to the side there, you're more welcome to do that as well.
I have a quick question, and I want to thank all of you for coming out on behalf of the working press here, president, non-president. We really appreciate all of you and look forward to working with you and cooperating with you on getting the word out. I'm John Palmentary with the News Channel 3, 11, and 12. If you could characterize, I know you talked about how dry things are. The public sometimes doesn't get the speed or the personality of these fires until it's right at their doorstep. You see this a lot. They just aren't moving as fast, or they're not getting the message. Can someone speak to what they should be expecting if we get these kinds of fire, and just how fast it will arrive from a great distance or right at their doorstep, just how quickly it gets there compared to what they may think it did years ago when we saw fires? Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, John. And it's a good question. I think probably the best reminder of it getting there quicker than we think would be the Alisal fire. We knew it would likely get to 101. We didn't think it would get to 101 nearly that quickly. And I think that's really one of the messages we have here today is when the whole Ready, Set, Go program is being ready to leave, and then monitoring those channels. We're going to get out warnings as we can, but as you know, we couldn't even get warnings out ahead of some of these fast-moving fires, especially when they're in sundowner conditions. So they're wind-driven. When they line up the topography and the fuels with that wind, it's especially quick. So it's a great reminder. It's not something we mentioned today, but when you think you have time, you probably don't. And then to be ready. One of the great tools we have available as well is the Ready SBC alerts as well. So if you're inclined to be alerted more than one way, you can go to alerts on readysbc.org.
And then one more thing on the non-English speaking messages. How is that done? And have we taken some new steps on doing that?
Yeah, I know Kelly and the office OEM is put a lot of effort into making sure that every bit of information we have, to include the Ready, Set, Go brochures, and some of our defensible space literature, to make sure that that's translated into Spanish and other languages as well, as needed. So I would encourage the public to look for those Spanish publications, and then be willing to reach out to their local fire agency if there is something on the website or something they're interested in that isn't translated.
I'm going to have one for Jimmy real quick. Memorial Day weekend is coming up. People are excited about getting out. You've seen the volume of people that are going out still on the trails, camping, hiking, and going to areas they haven't been in a while. That probably makes you nervous. We've talked about it already. The efforts on the Camino are great. What advice do you have as we get into the real active summer season of people engaging in the forest?
Yeah, absolutely. The National Forest is a treasure here in this area, and throughout the country. The National Forests are our place to recreate and de-stress and just enjoy our environment. But most of the fire starts in this county and in the Los Padres National Forest. Over 95% of the starts are human caused. And so that's a highly preventable amount of fires. If you think about it, very few are started by lightning, natural ignitions. A lot of those lightning strikes come with precipitation or rain, and we're able to catch those. So a lot of the fire starts happen by careless activities. A lot of them are innocent in nature, as far as just a dumb act. Someone not thinking about fire safety. Someone mentioned it, dragging a tow chain along the road. You didn't check your load right, and you're throwing sparks off the side of your vehicle. The things like barbecues and fire pits and things like that, just confining those to the campground, and even when you're in the campground, just making sure that there's clearance around your campfire and there's nothing leading out of your campfire ring to the brush or grass that's adjacent. So hopefully that answers your question. I totally support, obviously I work for the Forest Service. I love the outdoors environment, and I love people taking advantage of the ability to recreate outdoors. You just got to do so safely, and that'll help protect our communities that are right adjacent to the National Forest.
I have one more on law enforcement. I noticed in recent years there's been a lot of fireworks shot off well before the 4th of July, like 3 or 4 weeks in advance. You're hearing it at night and booms, and we know there's a lot of fireworks present in neighborhoods and in your area, and I'm not sure if the laws are tougher, or if you can tell people what happens to them if they're using fireworks in areas they shouldn't be using, and what the consequences are legally if they're caught with those. Because I have seen it personally stepped up in the last couple of years tremendously.
Yeah, and this is something where we look to our partners with Sheriff Brown and our law enforcement brothers that are within the Forest Service. We have fire patrols that are trying to advise folks of unsafe activities. And fireworks are illegal year-round throughout the National Forest. But as it comes to fines and jail time and other things, I defer to Sheriff Brown.
Thank you. Gets a little confusing because some of the cities in the county do allow fireworks within the city limits, so-called safe and sane fireworks that typically are not aerial fireworks, and they're not explosive fireworks. But the reality is we're seeing more and more of the illicit fireworks of the nature that you're talking about, things that are skyrockets or mortar-launched fireworks, and explosive fireworks like M80s that really are very similar to dynamite. And unfortunately, people buy these fireworks from out of state, bring them in, and utilize them. And it's a very prolific problem, and it's kind of an overwhelming problem, particularly for some of the local police departments. They tend to be concentrated more in the cities than in the county areas. It typically is a crime that if someone is apprehended with significant amount of fireworks, they can be cited, and the citation for the offense can be prosecuted. They can be held accountable, fined, and so forth. If it was a large amount, theoretically it could be an amount that could result in a conviction and some kind of imprisonment. But what we're really asking is for people to use common sense. Recognize that we are now in a county that is a has a year-round fire season. And I remind everybody, the Thomas Fire, which was the largest fire that we've ever had, it was in December. It occurred here. So it makes no sense to use fireworks in anything other than a professional pyrotechnic display like that the city of Santa Barbara might sponsor or something along those lines. And so we ask that there be zero firework deployments within the county areas, and if they're going to be used in the cities, that they be the right type of fireworks and that they be done in areas where they're not likely to light something off that's close by.
That's all I have.